Welcome to the Daily Space Weather, folks. I'm your delighted host, smAsho, otherwise known as Dan. And we're looking at some activity here rising in the southeast of the sun, as well as some setting. We see 0 sunspots so far. And it looks like some cycle 24 activity just fizzled out there on the equator. Here's a view from the LASCO C2. I put the date stamps on there so you can see that little bit of ejecta heading out of the western limb that we were looking at yesterday. There's the view from the C3. It's pretty diffuse, but it looks like some of the coronal mass did leave the corona. And please take the opportunity to press like and subscribe on YouTube if you haven't already done so. And thanks to our new subscribers there and at BitChute, we appreciate your viewership. Remember, there is exclusive content on all of our platforms, and our video content is primarily on Twitch, BitChute, and YouTube. Let's look at stereo A for a minute. Now we're going to be looking in this kind of a view from the perspective of stereo A, because we see a comet showing up. So it's pretty big and bright. Depending on its proximity to stereo A, we have no idea where that would be. It's nowhere near the ecliptic plane where the planets would be, which is around this area. So it must be a comet, folks. And there you see it. It's one of these things that you just don't see unless you look. So some more interesting stuff. And if you're wondering where this is, it's on the ISWA page, the Integrated Space Weather Analysis System. If you search for Integrated Space Weather Analysis, you'll find it. Next, we're going to look at the fields. And let me just refresh that. There we go. There's 171 angstroms. There's 304 angstroms, and you see there are some filaments around once again. And there are the fields. Again, this area down here, not a sunspot, at least not when I did show prep. And there's the fade back to 171 angstroms. We've got some close-ups of that region in 131 angstroms. There's the close-up of that. And we are, by the way, broadcasting from the Smash bunker. If you hear a rumbling sound, the source of that is indeed classified. Here's former sunspot 2759, now just a plage, as it moves into its setting mode on the northwestern limb. And here's a 304 angstroms full disk 48-hour video. The last 2 days of ionized helium activity. Ionized helium activity emission spectra. South Pole coronal hole looking pretty holy down there. Holy hole. KP index is at 1. 10.7 centimeter radial flux is, I believe, at 70. And by the way, there's a great article. 10.7 is at 70. Great article just came out about the geoelectric hazard. You can find that on spaceweather.com. It turns out that the geoelectric hazard is not just based on the infrastructure of your power lines and systems and where the transformers are. It's more than that. There are geological features that figure in how the global electric circuit handles space weather as a capacitor. So if you have, for instance, if you have rocky bedrock versus sand versus silty topsoil, loam, all of that stuff figures into the way electricity passes through the soil, and that has an effect on how it ends up in the power grid. So that induction caused by space weather has geologic factors, and basically that's what the paper's about. You can read all about it on spaceweather.com. Next we'll look at the planets and so on. There's where things are now. There's where things will be in a week, as Mercury blasts around to the opposite side. And Venus is making its way for a pass as well as we approach the Mars-Jupiter-Saturn very, very scary diagonal line here. I mean, it's very, very spooky. It's worthy of making another Halloween movie, Halloween Part 86, where we 86 the entire franchise and start making original stuff instead of sequels, prequels, franchise nonsense, and expanding on the canon of the universes. Here's where stars are. Today's featured star, for no reason at all, is Arcturus. Which, by the way, is an ultra bright star. X-ray activity, going back to space data here, X-ray activity is pretty chill, and not a lot to really talk about as far as high energy stuff like protons. No proton events going on. And let's see, phi angle is around 330 degrees. Solar wind density just dropped off a cliff while we did show prep, down to 2.4 protons per cubic centimeter. Solar wind speed, 428 kilometers a second. Here's the data from ACE, and there's the latest refresh that we've got. Phi angle looks like it's dropping a little bit, and the solar wind speed looks like it's ramping down as well, as we see a temperature drop down here on the rarely really look at the lower pane. But let's move on to look at the Geospace Magnetosphere movie. And it's pretty steady out there. And we see a cratered electron flux, which does figure into this, folks. By the way, there's an interesting conversation, or two, or three, or six, going on smashomash.com/forum. There is indeed a section about Earth and geophysics, as it is an interesting mystery in science as to how Earth's geomagnetic field is generated. That's part of the reason why we immerse ourselves in the data on the daily. Next, we're looking at the ground magnetic perturbations. And welcome to the polar excursion. Fisher-Price, my first pandemic. As mankind largely reacts to the global pandemic like children. Anyway, there's the last 4 hours of that. There's the GOES magnetometer data. The one that's still returning data, at least, as the GOES 15 has been down for a solid week or two, I think. And we're still seeing spikiness and a South Pole only charge on the current sheet. So there you can see the current sheet fully red, charged up by the south solar polar field. And there's no end in sight. Now, if that sunspot that's rising in the southeast if that active region turns into a sunspot, then there would be some chance of seeing North Pole polarity kick in. But it's not. It definitely was not a sunspot when I did show prep. I'll just say that. Here's the line of sight field plot, and you can't see a whole lot of effect on the B field shown here in blue from that active region. And I mean the one down here. So unlikely to really see any changes in the spikiness of the magnetometer or the current sheet. Relativistic electrons have dropped down to fairly low levels here, and the GOES electron flux is pretty cratered also there. So the Van Allen belts are looking a little on the weak side right now. And here's the ionosphere data. And we have rearranged a few tabs today and put some segments in here that we don't cover every day. Anyway, there's 6 hours of that data. Here's the latest image. Looking pretty normal there on the ionosphere. Next, we'll look at the pressure cells on windy.com. I'll just let that advance via the GFS forecast for about 24 hours. And here's where things will be on Friday at noon, where people are actually having hope that they're going to go home from work and have a weekend and not go clubbing. Next, earthquakes. And by the way, we do see a swarm of earthquakes around Idaho. Not exactly the best news I've heard. But it looks like the largest of the past 24 was this deep quake near Fiji and Tonga and Sigave, Wallis, and Futuna. It's a 5.4 magnitude and 400 kilometers depth. 411.8 to be exact. So we saw a bunch of deep quakes yesterday, and there's a deep quake today. Again, a whole bunch of quakes in Puerto Rico as well as in Idaho. There's one pushing the 100-kilometer mark at Puerto Rico. And again, shout out to Peter Schiff for teaching people about things like inflation and interventionism and helicopter money and overvalued stocks and gold at 1,700 plus per ounce and silver massively undervalued. Anyway, let's move on to talk about a 4.3 magnitude quake in Peru, which is at 233 kilometers, another deep quake in western South America, where they have plenty of them. There's a deep one at Tajikistan. It's a 4.3 magnitude at 125 kilometers depth. You see a little uptick in volcanoes here. Kluchevskoy erupting, 20,000 foot flight level there. Shivaluch, big uptick there, 33,000 foot ash plume there. Flight level 33,000. And being so far north, that's getting close to the stratosphere. Mount Aso, 6,000 foot plume there. Kuchinarabu, Jima, flight level 2,000 there. Don't hang glide over the caldera. Mount Ibu exploding, flight level 7,000 there. Semeru, flight level 14,000 there. Dukono, flight level 7,000 as it explodes. Popocatépetl, flight level 24,000. Sangay dispersed its ash. Revenador, new volcanic ash plume exploding, 15,000 foot plume there. Sabancaya exploding, 25,000 foot plume there. And Nevados de Chilean also exploding, producing a 24,000 foot plume of ash. Please do not attempt to pole vault the caldera. I don't know if you've seen my desktop, but there you go, there's my desktop. Fisher-Price, my first pandemic, and welcome to the COVID-19 coverage that we don't want to do at all, where we go, oh my God, and I try to poke a virus with a metal pen. Are you familiar with cherry picking? Well, this is the problem that I have with the infantile human response to COVID-19, and it's because practically everybody is cherry-picking data to fit their own narrative. So whether it's Bill Gates suggesting that mankind cannot amass in groups until a mass vaccination program happens, to the Italian fatalities being phonily pumped up, to countries that are, attributing COVID-19 to deaths that have nothing to do, to deaths that aren't caused by coronavirus. So cherry picking is always a problem, and up until the time of global warming, the correlation between carbon dioxide and climate change was, up until the year 2020, the most cherry-picked data in the history of mankind. And by the way, cherry picking is suppressing evidence or the fallacy of incomplete evidence. Up until 2020, I've never seen cherry picking at the level that it's at now, because the levels of propaganda, cherry picking, nonsense, misinformation, disinformation, and just politicization of the pandemic and so on is just pathetic. And by the way, in Italy, 99% of the deceased had preconditions. Now, yesterday we talked about the forum sections that we've updated. Do you have butthole recognition technology? Well, it's a real thing. It's a real thing. And if you think I'm kidding, that letter V right there is the anus camera. So you gotta, if you're gonna send pictures of people's poop for analysis, you gotta know whose butt is pooping out the poop. So that's what's up with that. And we've actually got another page here. And So I want to just cite what's been updated here. There are some links to purchase hydroxychloroquine. So thanks, Be Stoic, for that. Well done. And yeah, I don't know if I ever updated the name of the chat here. I mean, the name of the stream. So there's some interesting links. Also, I put up one this morning about mask wearing, as it's going to be an ongoing thing, and I'm not going to weigh in on it because I just don't want to. Were you aware of virotherapy? Were you aware that viruses aren't evil, first of all? There is very promising technology out there using viruses intentionally, and I know that'll be controversial too, so please save your death threats for the comments section. Just kidding, folks. Don't put death threats in the comments section. That you could get arrested for that. And we don't need people getting arrested. Were you aware that giant viruses carry genetic code? These viruses are so huge that they can be mistaken for bacteria. So that's another interesting article there if you want to read about that. It's in our extensive coronavirus section, which is now over 21 pages long. And let's talk about the financial markets, as space weather is what's supposed to run the economy, not central banks. And let's just let this scroll, see if we see anything interesting. Looks like some bond purchasing happened again. Is that a surprise? The good news is that the US dollar is not inflating more than other major global currencies. That's the good news. Gold is at over $1,700 an ounce. Silver still only at $15.43 an ounce. And man, the Japanese yen is getting hammered. So yeah, you'll hear about Bill Gates in the news today, and you'll be outraged about it, and it'll be all over everywhere. And this is part of the reason why we do our videos early, because we provide these news crawler services. Asian markets are pretty flat here. And let's scroll back up there real quick. And there are the Euro markets, such as the FTSE and the DAX and the CAC, which are all up a bit. And no, yes, while you're locked up inside, I want you all to make a point to spike pile drive any infections of of any viruses that are having ill effects on you into the ground. Spike pile drive them, as thy power comes from within. Your ancestors survived global pandemics, and you most likely will too. So support your local businesses, as we're looking to get some cheesesteaks very soon from Willie Joe's, possibly tonight, possibly tomorrow night. We're still working on that. But this is a fantastic place if you want some greasy food, if you're in the Allentown area. Just fantastic. And they even have the steak on burger, which is a double cheeseburger topped with a cheesesteak. Yeah, it's literally a steak on burger. Just fantastic. Anyway, there's their menu. And maybe drop them a line. Their email address is blackshirt@williejoes.net. Yes. Ha 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 ha. Yes, Willie Joe's. Just sensational. Also, while you're locked inside a house, and perhaps welded inside a house, let us know if you're welded inside a house. You could head to soundclick.com/goldencatproductions. It's soundclick.com/goldencatproductions. It's my record label. It's about 20 years old now. And you could hear space weather favorites like our intro music, which is taken from Unified Theory 3. See that? It's only been at number 97. I would also note that Dr. Steelshank has been all the way up to 26. And that's in the subgenre of instrumental rock, I think. So perhaps check that out. You can also download the tracks if you want them in your MP3 collection for between 99 cents and $1.25 each. Also talking about switching to Linux, another thing to do while you're locked inside, maybe resurrect an old computer, download Ubuntu. There's a new iteration out, Ubuntu DDE. I don't know that much about this stuff, folks, and that's why we're going to get the gentleman, I believe his name's Tom, from Switch to Linux on the show. We're just working out when we're going to be able to do that. I'm going to make a playlist about computing. So for all of you folks out there who are using Windows 10 and you want to run a dual boot to have a more secure system, or maybe take an old computer and resurrect it and have that as an ultra secure PC, that, you know, Linux is pretty much the route for proper security, folks. You're not going to get it with Apple systems. You're not going to get it with Microsoft. You're certainly not going to get it with Android. So, you know, if you want to make your computing actually secure, an encrypted system with Linux running on it is pretty freaking secure. Next, we'll look at the jet streams. Getting back to stuff besides the you-know-what. There we have the Western jets. They're looking pretty strong over my head right now. We got nearly 70 degrees here yesterday in Lehigh Valley, PA. Leave us a comment with what the weather's like where you are. Please do not stay locked indoors. Go out and get some sun. You need vitamin D, folks. You want to know what vitamins I took this morning? I took vitamin C, vitamin E, calcium plus D, and an L-lysine amino acid. That's it. L-lysine, the essential amino acid responsible for the production of hormones, enzymes, and antibodies. See how that might be important? Now, we take it all the time because I deplete my immune system constantly when riding a bike. And there's a reason why usually when I get sick, the only thing I experience is some brain fog. We're going to look at, this is the cosmology section today, folks, and it's going to be very, very quick. We're going to look at the transients from Sagittarius A star, the galactic core of the Milky Way galaxy. There are the transient X-ray emissions from it. And notice how there is a buildup in the past few years. From about 2013 until present, it actually has been increasing its transient outbursts. Next, we're going to look at the Crab Nebula, the Crab Pulsar, just as a reference point, because the Crab Pulsar is the most consistent, constant X-ray source. It's a very high-level X-ray source also. And there's the data from it. And let's see, where are we here? About 22.5. So it's pretty much around its normal range there. Nothing too exciting happening at Crab. And let's look at Cygnus X3. Probably the most likely point source of cosmic rays known to mankind. The massive X-ray binary is sending protons all the way to ground level at Earth, especially if you're in the northern hemisphere. So there are the outbursts from Cygnus. And let's see, Cygnus X3, that is. It's otherwise known as Deneb. And by the way, it's the brightest intrinsic object in the Milky Way that we know of. So from the Earth's perspective, Deneb, which is actually a massive X-ray binary, is the most intrinsically bright object that we see, and a point of cosmic rays. And apparently ancients built a whole bunch of structures that were pointed at this, at the other end of the precessional cycle. Anyway, just thought I'd give you some little facts there about Cygnus X3, a star that nobody seems to pay any attention to for some reason, although the ancients just built giant monoliths all over the world with soul holes pointing at it. And I won't get into the theories behind that, but here you can see it's in the range now of around 0.03, and so it's right in the middle of its normal active range there. We wouldn't be surprised to see this get into a higher level, and whether that has instantaneous effects on the Earth or not is up to your conjecture. So I won't say anything about it in this video because I don't want to confuse, alarm, amaze, and astound people, because it's the daily space weather. Next, we're going to look at cosmic rays. You see how I segued there from the most likely cosmic ray point source that's known to cosmic ray monitors? See what I did there? Anyway, at Apatity the last 30 days, we see a small uptick in in cosmic ray flux. At Barentsburg, we see a small downtick in the past 30 days. Next, we'll look at Athens. Let's see if they're sending data. And Athens is closed for COVID-19, I guess. Next, Mexico City. There's the data from that. Looking quite flat over the past 30. Maybe a small uptick. Next, we'll check Moscow, see if they're sending data. And Moscow is outdated. They've all moved into bunkers, folks. Here's Oulu, Finland, which is quite flat in the past 30. There's DOMC Antarctica, which is flat in the past 30. And there's DOMB Antarctica, where they're not sending data. And we'll leave links to the Network of Cosmic Ray Stations site below the video, so you can monitor them yourself. If you see anything weird, see anything unexplainable, drop me a line. It's smAshomash@gmail.com. smAshomash@gmail.com. Next, we'll look at water vapor maps here, and we've got Europe and Africa. Interesting convergence right here off the coast of Monrovia. And I believe that's an interaction with Saharan dust. But since I'm not David Schlottower, I'm not going to go check. Next, we'll look at Oceania and the Far East. And next, we'll look at lightning maps before we get to the U.S. water vapor map. And we're seeing some lightning strikes here. Where are they? Right now. Hey, Winston-Salem. Hey, Elkin. Hey, Elkin. There's thunder rolling in. Anyway, I like to use lightningmaps.org for my real-time lightning maps. It's good times. I used it yesterday, actually, as we were having a thunderstorm. And here's a U.S. Doppler radar. It looks like some pretty heavy weather is hitting southwestern PA. And it's continuing to snow in eastern California over there. And here's a water vapor map of the U.S. with a Borg sphere going in front of it again. You can see that Borg sphere move across. We've asked them to please not try to assimilate our satellite, and I guess India tried to shoot down the Borg sphere because they thought it was going to try to assimilate Indian technology, and it's just a mess. Bunch of COVIDiots up there. Those Borg, they're all COVIDiots. They're now afraid to assimilate the human race because they think that that our antibiotic technology is well, a little bit inferior. They're trying to assimilate our magnetohydrodynamics. So anyway, we're going to look at this area over Arkansas because there's a pressure inversion happening there. You can see this moist air is moving over the top of this dry air, and that's what's causing those violent cloud formation and things like that to occur there. And it's a great example of a high altitude low pressure system full of moisture, and what it does when it gets over the top of dry air, it creates what we call a temperature and pressure inversion, and that's one of the more dangerous things in aviation. So like if you're flying in this sort of a path, when you go across those gradients, you're going to have all kinds of weird turbulence, and you have a bumpy ride, put it that way. And hey, Smash team, thanks for tuning in, whether you viewed live or whether you viewed Memorex. Again, please don't forget to share the videos on your social media, as there's a constant evolution of the content going on. We're going to do some bonus features. Here's a bonus feature. Our Patreon posts are public for the entire month of April, so that everybody can have some sort of an understanding of what we offer to our gold members versus our intro members. So check us out there, patreon.com/smAshomash, as well as at Subscribestar. The tier is different at Subscribestar. It's a different dollar amount per month. So check that out, subscribestar.com/smashamash. And all the posts going up there are public for the entire month of April. So you don't have to pay for any of the content. And we are in the process of creating a subscription service at smashamash.com also. So look for that coming soon. Next, we're going to check out this area down here and see if it's turned into a sunspot. And you can see a little bit of lightness here, but no darkness. So no sunspot yet, folks. I just hit refresh. Here are the magnetic fields associated with that region. And of course, it is cycle 25 in nature. And last but not least, I guess we'll go look at a 48-hour video of the sun in 94 angstroms, courtesy of the SDO. And we will get back to making cosmology segments sometime soon, folks. It's just that I don't have enough time, and I'm massively, massively overworked and underpaid. If you want me to go full-time, support the channel, and I'll start doing science constantly. Which is why we started a Science Foundation. So check out smashamash.org, check out the forums. We'll talk to you soon with more content. Stare at the sun, don't drink it. If you do, don't drive. Since it'll never be now again, may the solar wind be at your back and all the COVIDiots on a different planet.